Alright, Shalom. This is Harwan by Yasha Allah of the GMS Lions Den camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Harakak Wadash, Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles, the GMS, and the elders. And Shalom to you, Akim, and Akwatim, and children that believe in sincerity and the truth around the four corners of the earth. This is going to be a comment board response to this brother here named Hopeful Ephraimite. All right, he asked the question. It says, anyone know when the Sabbath is? The next Sabbath is. He asked another question. I responded. The Sabbath right now is on, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's on a Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening. All right, and we have another one coming up soon. I'm going to get into that. So the next question was, so do we observe the Sabbath and the new moon Sabbath back to back? I'm just trying to understand. So let's get into it. All right, this is 2 Chronicles chapter 2 verse 3. And Solomon sent to Huram, the king of Tyre, saying, as thou didst deal with David my father, and didst send him cedars to build him an house to dwell therein, even so deal with me. Right. Now a house was being built around 955 BC with King Solomon. All right. So that was around the time the house was built, the temple. Now Huram, the king of Tyre, was a Canaanite that became the basically like the general, one of the generals of Solomon's navy. You know, he would go to what you call Americas, the New World, and bring different items or animals back to Solomon. All right, and so anyway, he'd also bring him a lot of cedar trees. All right. Now it says, behold, I build an house to the name of Yahweh my power, to dedicate it to him and to burn before him sweet incense. All right. And it's Solomon talking, but Solomon is Yahushua, you know, and Solomon was Yahushua, being Solomon, was sent right at the turn of the age, at the 1,000-year period, around 971 BC, when Solomon was born. And it says 12 years after he was born, the temple was built. All right. Well, 4 years after he was became king. He became king 12 years after he was born. So 4 years after that would be 955 BC. All right. So that's important to know for another lesson. Now it says, and for the verse 4, and for the continual showbread, and for the burnt offerings, morning and evening. All right, morning and evening, on the Sabbaths. So on the Sabbaths, all right, they will offer up a sacrifice. All right. Or for a sweet savor, or a peace offering. Now it says, and on the new moons. So he will offer up sacrifice on these days, the new moon and the Sabbaths. And on the solemn feast of Yahweh, our power, this is an ordinance forever to Israel. Now, solemn feast represents like the Passover and other things like that, but also the new moon is a time, meaning a holy day. The new moon sets in place your Sabbaths. Without the new moon, you couldn't have a Sabbath, because the new moon represents what? This is Ecclesiasticus 43:5. Now it says, actually 43:6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world, man. So the declaration of times represents holy days, the solemn assemblies, all right, which would be one of those times would be what? A declaration of Sabbaths. That's what the new moon does. It declares the Sabbath. It declares the feast days. It declares what time and season we're in. All right. Through a certain amount of months, you know. So it says he made the moon also to serve in her season. So this is the time where the Lord gave purpose to the sun and the moon. What it was going, the duty that it was going to hold dealing with man. All right, he already gave its order out in the heavens in the book of Genesis. All right, but then when you get to around the fourth day, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was, he gave it his order and gave it his course and reason to man. You know, like the beams of the sun reaching out to the earth, not just being created in the heavens, but reaching out, reaching out to the earth. You had you had the first new moon. That's what created our time. And after that, you had what? The first day. And after the first day, you had what? 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, that's a day to the Lord. You see that? So 1,000 of our years after that first new moon, because you have a new moon, and if it lines up, all right, like right here it says, sun and moon are aligned with the sun and earth on opposite sides of the moon. You see that? So this is how it started right here, man. One side of the earth was dark. One side of the earth was light. All right, that's called a new moon. See that? Everything perfect alignment. Now, outside of this, they used to call it the dark moon. And as soon as you see that little glimpse or crest of light on the moon, a reflection of the sun, they would call that the new moon. All right. So it's important to know, man. That's how the beginning process started. All right. Now, yeah, light on one side, dark on the night, day on one side, night on the other. Now you get that process of one evening going around. That's day one. Then you get 1,000 of those. That's 1,000 years. You know. So anyway, this is Sirach 43:7. The moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection, right? You have the moon that waxes and wanes, crescent moons, full moons, new moons. It's set up for a perfect calendar, man, just by the angling of the sun and the earth and the moon. Same way he created light and darkness upon the earth. Same way, man. Just by angling the planets a certain way to where light, basically the bending of light. All right. That's why certain days in the evening, all you can see when the sun goes down is red in the sky, because the only light at that time that bends and curves around the firmament of the earth, because the earth is round, the only light we're able to see is red. That's the one that bends. That's the light that bends and we're able to see with our naked eye is the red light. All right. So that's why it looks like the sky looks red. Now, so it's the bending of light that creates what you call a new moon. And now the new moon starts your Sabbath. All right. So if you have, say when you had a Sabbath, I'm going to get to this point now too. If you have a Sabbath that ends on a Friday or Tuesday evening, right? From Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening. But then you got a new moon that comes in Wednesday evening to Thursday evening. You're supposed to keep both of those. You keep the Sabbath, which ends that prior month, and then you begin the new moon, which brings in your new Sabbath. All right. So you're going to have 2 Sabbaths, basically. You're going to end the old one and keep the new Sabbath with the new moon. Now, after that new moon is over, meaning from Wednesday evening to Thursday evening, after that, that next evening starts your first day. And you count 7 evenings from that. And on the night of the 6th evening, or the 7th evening, that's when you go into the Sabbath again. All right, the same day that the new moon was on. And you do that until your next new moon. And if they land back to back, if you get a Sabbath, and then it's a day, and then a new moon, you keep all 3 of those. But if it's a Sabbath, and then a new moon, you keep both. All right. Now, so it's Sirach, chapter 43, verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. All right, sign of what? Omens. You know, a sign of harvest to the world. A sign of pollution. When the moon turns red, a sign of death, of judgment, of pollution. You know, new moon feasts, Passovers, things like that. All right, so the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The moon is called the month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So they set in the heaven, but they have an effect upon the earth and a job to do upon the earth. All right, so that's where you get the creation where the Most High created the heavens. And then he created what the heavens were going to do upon the earth. The effect it was going to have, like the sun rays, the sunbeams, the cooking of the earth, the heating of the earth, the temperature, the light beams from the sun, the crop, how it can grow the crops, how it's going to scorch the earth, heating the earth without scolding the earth. All right, scorching the earth. The moon, he got it set in position to where the light bends and hits the moon to where we see a full moon, new moon, or we don't see the moon, or crescent moon, waxing, waning. Yeah, right. And he set that up for signs and you know, to work with man, you know, for seasons and harvest. All right. Feast days. So the month sets your Sabbath in place. All right. So without a month, you cannot have what? Days. And without days, you cannot have what? Weeks. So you have the month, which begins your days, right? Beginning of a month. And after that, you have days. So you have the new moon from evening to evening. The next evening starts your first day. All right. Then you count from that up till 7 evenings. That's when you get your Sabbath. All right. All the way till your next new moon. Exodus 31:13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you. See, for signs, right? The moon was set for signs. And this is one of those signs, the Sabbath. Between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know it, that I am Yahweh that doeth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, right, because it's a reflection of Yahweh giving power to Yahweh Shah to create the heavens and the earth 7,000 years. So he rested on the 7,000th year. All right. So we rest on the 7th day in reflection of our Heavenly Father in Yahweh Shah, King. All right. Paying homage to the Creator, verse 15. Actually, verse 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. So it's set apart, you know. It sets you apart from this world, keeping the Lord's Sabbath to the best of your ability. All right, so it's not from Friday evening to Saturday evening. The Sabbath is at this moment, I think it's on a Tuesday. I'm gonna get that calendar in a second. So it says, everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. So in these times, if you don't keep the Sabbath at all, if you're like, I don't care, then you could be cut off because you're not keeping the laws to the best of your ability. Now, keeping the Sabbath is not going to get you to the kingdom, but it'll keep you in this truth. All right. We keep the laws to the best of our ability, rehearsing the righteous acts. But now, any person that does any work, now, that's why the Lord, Yahweh died for us on the cross. Because he knew in these times that you'll have to go to work. Say, for instance, the new moon lands on a Thursday, but then the next time around, it lands on a Monday. Now, you got to tell your job, oh, it changed. The Sabbath changed, man. I need a different day off now. And they don't let you off. You see that? So that's what, that's why if you have to keep it on a Friday and Saturday, you do what you do. The scriptures say, judge no man in their Sabbaths. But according to truth's sake, when you teach this truth, you're supposed to tell the truth about the Sabbath, that it goes according to the new moon. All right. And that's whatever day it conflicts with dealing with the Julian calendar, which was amended by Pope Gregory. That's what they call the Gregorian calendar, when he did nothing but amend, or what he called correcting the Julian calendar. All right. Which they're both off. All right. When you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which all goes according to pagan deities. You can see that. So this is verse 15. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest. So you have a month, and you can't have days without a month. You can't have months without days. You get day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Even if it's 1,000 years 1, 1,000 years 2, 1,000 years 3, 1,000 years 4, you still have to have our days as fractions of those thousands of years. All right. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, going all the way up to 1,000 years. Now, but our Sabbath represents what? On the eve, you had the 6th day, evening to evening. All right, so the end of that 6th day, that's your Sabbath, which is going to land on the same day that the new moon landed on, if you count it correctly. New moon from evening to evening. Then you start your first day. After that, count 6 days. After the 6th day ends, that's your Sabbath. Do that until the new moon. All right. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh, it is the Sabbath of rest. Holy to Yahweh, whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall be put to death. So that was back then. All right. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and you, me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. This is Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. It's talking about the Roman Empire, Esau. All right, especially with Julius Caesar, and the triumvirate. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it until the end. This is Exodus 12:1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, right? This is when we was in Egypt, around the 14th century BC. You know, around 1435. That's when the Exodus happened. If you calculate it correctly, dealing with the scriptures. So this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you, right? Because when we came out of Egypt, we were still keeping the Egyptian calendars, all right? But does that mean that the Hebrew calendar didn't exist? No, because the moon and the stars were still in existence, all right? The Lord didn't destroy us. Yeah, right? He said, this is Jeremiah 31 and 35. Thus saith Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light by day. All right. So that's what created your day. You cannot have a day without the sun, right? Daytime, daylight, or morning without the sun. And the ordinances of the moon. The ordinance means the order of the moon. It's waxing, waning. See, he gave it command. All right. He created it on one day and then he gave it command on another day, put it in order. See that? Set it in motion like a clock. Moving the hands. And once they start going, they never stopped on that gravitational pull. Now it says ordinance of the moon and of the stars for a light by night. All right, so he put everything in order, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. When the sun and the moon pull at the water, oceans upon the earth, with the gravitational pull at the same time, because their gravitational pull is stronger than the earth. So when they get closer to the earth, that's when you get something called high tide, all right, where the tide rises from the gravitational pull, pulling the waters, literally trying to pull the water off the earth. All right, so it moves the waves thereof back and forth, what you call high tide, low tide. So it's right here in the scriptures, man. Which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith Yahweh, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. All right. So, thus saith Yahweh, if heaven above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Yahweh. All right, so let me get this real quick. Exodus 12 and 1. So, when we came out of Egypt, the Lord had not destroyed the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars. Everything was in place. Now he said, now he caught us right on time to where he said the month of Abib, which was around spring, all right, which means the spring or the newness of the earth. All right, I think it's Abyabah, which is like spring. Now, the Lord set us free from Egypt around that time with something you call the Passover. All right. And he brought us out of Egypt. He created us into being a nation from that point, gave us laws, divided us from wicked and righteous, all right, in the wilderness, even today. And he set us on our course as a nation. But before that, the sun and the moon was already in place. It's just we were blind to it. Just like knowledge and wisdom was already in place, but we were blind to it. Wisdom was already set in place from the beginning, but we were blinded to it. It's just common sense, man. All right. This is a cut on any Egyptologist that said we stole their calendar. No, we already had a calendar. We come from the heavens. We already have a calendar. All right. The earth was given to Adam, and Adam represents the elect. All right. Now, so anyway, I'm gonna keep going. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. All right. So you have the first month, which will be Abib, the second month, which is the month Ziph. So this happened around 1435. All right. So it'd be around springtime when the Exodus happened. So it says, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. Okay, so that's when we began our months, you know. So he set us back in course with the beginning of time, which began with what? A new moon. All right. So on the new moon, he set us on our course. It says, it shall be the first month of the year to you. So what do you have within a year? You have many months, many moons. That's what the Indians talk. They say many moons. All right. So many months, but within months you have what? Weeks. And you can't create weeks without what? Days. So 7 days creates what? Your Sabbath after the new moon. The new month begins. All right. So you keep the new moon Sabbath as a Sabbath, and you keep the prior Sabbath. You know, when it ends, you keep that Sabbath. Then you go into the new moon. You keep that. Then the next day is the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, and then the seventh day you keep your Sabbath again. You go first day, second day again. All right. So back to verse 3. Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. So that's talking about what? The Passover. Preparing for the Passover. All right. But it said what? In the 10th day. So you can't have the 10th day without the new moon, which brings in what? Your new month. All right. So 7 days later is your Sabbath. All right. Starting after the first day. This is Isaiah 66 and 22. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another. All right. So the Lord set everything in motion. He's going to keep it that way forever. Now, it says, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another. So this is very important. He's saying from one month to another month, right? And from one Sabbath to another, meaning 1 week to another. So you can't have a month without weeks, without your Sabbaths. All right. So without the new moon, you won't be able to know what starts your new week. You see that? Or your new month. So you'll be able to count your weeks correctly. And you can't have weeks without days. So after you get 7 days, you get the Sabbath. And from one Sabbath to another shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. And this is even in the kingdom. All right. Even in the kingdom, this is going to happen. All right. This is Numbers 28 and 10. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, the same Sabbath, the burnt offering that Solomon was talking about. All right, beside the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. And in the beginning of your months, see, every Sabbath. All right, so every Sabbath, we have a drink offering back then. And in the beginning of your months, ye shall offer a burnt offering unto Yahweh. So that was a Sabbath as well. So the beginning of your months, which would be what? Your new moon. All right. So you have your Sabbath, then your new moon. Then you have your first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. Then seventh day, Sabbath again. You have another sacrifice. And these times you're supposed to just rest. All right. Or you pray, or you don't have sex with your woman. If you got trash, you try to take your trash out ahead of time. Things like that, man. If you can, you just teach. You know, of course, it's gonna be hard to call out of work. You know. So it says, in the beginning of your months, ye shall offer a burnt offering unto Yahweh. 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot. All right, so that's very important, man. He said that on those days, the Sabbath, and in the beginning of your months, which is supposed to be held as a Sabbath. All right, this is Ezekiel 46 and 1. Thus saith Yahweh power, the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days. All right, so 6 working days are supposed to be shut, the doors to Jerusalem, allowing no person in. But on the Sabbath, it shall be open, and in the day of the new moon, it shall be open. So why? Because they're both resting days. The new moon is a resting day, and the Sabbath is the resting day. Why? Because the new moon is the Sabbath. It's just right there. The new moon is the Sabbath. Why? Because it begins your Sabbath. All right, whatever day the new moon lands on, that's your Sabbath. You know, so you keep your ending Sabbath and you keep your new Sabbath, which is the new moon. Now it says, and the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of the gate without, and shall stand by the post of the gate, and the priest shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings. And he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until evening. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before Yahweh in the Sabbaths and in the new moons. All right, so your new, what does it say? In your months, your beginning of your months, you keep the rest as well. All right. And they try to say that's a feast. No, it's a Sabbath as well. This is because he said on the new moon and on the Sabbath, you're not supposed to do any type of servile work. All right. So on those days are both resting days. Amos 8 and 5 saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn? Right? They couldn't sell any corn on the new moon. Why? Because it's a Sabbath. You know, you keep sacrifices on those days, and you wouldn't work on those days, do any servile work, because they go hand in hand, the Sabbath and the new moon. And it says, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat? Why? Because they fell on the same day. So you had the Sabbath ending, and then you had the new moon that they were in, which is a Sabbath as well. All right, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balance by deceit. So they were waiting for the new moon to end, or the Sabbath to end, the new moon, so they can start to buy and sell and work. All right, because you're supposed to rest on the Sabbath and the new moon. All right, so instead of trying to pull up the last new moon, I think the last new moon landed on November 6th, if I'm not, or Tuesday. All right, so if I'm not mistaken, I'll be keeping the Sabbath this month. I kind of missed it last month when the new moon was, but I still have like my antenna up, and I think it was on the Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening. So this Sabbath, this new moon is coming in on the 6th. All right. So it's coming in on the 6th right here. So that means from Tuesday evening to Wednesday evening, that's going to be a Sabbath. And then from Wednesday evening to Thursday evening, you're going to keep that as a rest as well. And then from Thursday evening to Friday evening, that's your new moon. And Friday evening to Saturday evening, that's your first day. So you count that 1. Saturday to Sunday, 2. Saturday to Monday, 3. Monday to Tuesday, 4. Tuesday to Wednesday, 5. Wednesday to Thursday, 6. Thursday to Friday, 7. All right. So Thursday to Friday would be your 7th day. You see that? It lands right on the new moon again, on the 6th this time. All right. So that's 7, the 6th at evening, all the way to the 7th. at evening. So like where I'm at right now, the 13th evening until Friday evening would be your Sabbath. All right. So the new moon comes in. All right, the new moon comes in on the 7th this month. So new moon, but it's, you see right here it says 2:20 a.m. That's a.m. So a.m. is still if you're going from evening to evening, right? So if you go from the evening of the 6th into the evening of the 7th, that's where that 2:20 falls in line at, the evening of the 6th, because it goes from evening to what we call AM and then back to PM. So around 2 a.m., that's still on the day of the 6th. All right, so that means the new moon would be on December 6th of this month. All right. All right, got it right here. So the last one was on November 6th. And this one is going to be on December the 6th. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was helpful to the brother out there. Hopeful Ephraimite. Says the water for that brother and Kal Halal Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shem is spelled S-H-A-M, but Shem Yahweh Shai. And that means name. Question. According to Friday-Saturday doctrine, the Sabbath would be once a week, but according to the moon, it's once a month. No, it's not. It's actually as many times. The new moon is once a month, but the Sabbath could be many times until the next new moon. Okay. So, but according to the new moon, it's once a month. No, it's not once a month. It's many times throughout the month, right? The Sabbath. So it's like the heathens make the Sabbath 4 times a month. It could be 4 times, 5 times, as many times until it gets to the next new moon. All right. I'm just saying to understand, is there something we should be following that's once a week? And that's called the Sabbath. Yes, you can't have days without the new moon. This is a fact. You cannot have weeks without days. This is a fact. So to get your days, to get your Sabbaths, you have to have 7 days or 6 days at least. And to get your days, you have to have a new month that starts for each Sabbath or for each month to count your Sabbath, all right? And to set holy days in place and things like that. All right. I'm just trying to understand, is there something we should be following that's once a week? That's the Sabbath. Esau got me messed up, and this is Esau's fault, man, because he sought to change, he sought to change times and laws. So he changed the laws of the scriptures, and he changed the times, the seasons with the calendars. All right. So, everybody was messed up at some point till we came out of Egypt this time as well, mentally. The calendar was already still in place, but we had to relearn about it and keep the righteous acts to the best of our ability. Are we going to get the holy days accurate every time? No, but you may get the Passover accurate. You might get the new moon accurate. All right. And the Sabbath, so with that, man, I'm gonna end it there, and hopefully that was edifying. And that's just it, man. Kal Halayim La Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Harakah Kodash Ma'amath. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders, and shalom to you Akim and Akwatim and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the 4 corners of the earth. All right, so this is a lesson breaking down and edifying on the topic of the new moon and the Sabbath.